All right, good evening, Spring Valley. Way to go. Bring everybody out. This is what we love to see, so thanks for being here, all of you. So we're going to start with a announcement. We're going to have our flag salute led by Hayden Volna and Abigail Chow. Can you all come up?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done. Okay, this meeting is being televised and recorded for the transcription of the minutes. This meeting will be replayed on MCTV Channel 27 on Saturday, February 9th at 11:30 a.m. and the following Monday, February 11th, 2019 at 3:30 p.m. At this time, speakers wishing to address the board this evening should turn in the completed speaker card to the board's secretaries. Just want to make a notation there was no action taken in closed session. Could I have an approval, a motion for an approval of the agenda for tonight?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Ravello, seconded by Trustee Fama. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, the best part, school spotlight. Principal Dior Reed, did you want to start the honors here?
Okay, good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Vaporser. Thank you so much for having us present tonight. It's always an honor to be here and talk about the great school that is Spring Valley. So tonight we're going to start out with the beautiful new picture of our school taken by our own Rudy from our maintenance department and his drone. And I think it's a great picture, captures how the expanse of the school. So thank you, Rudy. And this is now up in the front of our school. This is part of our PBIS, or Positive Behavior Intervention. It's our Spring Valley new motto, strive to do your best. We are the Spring Valley Star Stallions, so we strive to do our best. We take responsibility, always work together, and we respect ourselves and others. And tonight we're going to hear on one of these, our third graders are going to present on responsibility. So we'll be hearing that in a little bit. And we try to emphasize this as we go through the day, reminding everyone. So the way that I'm kind of going to go through this presentation today is talk about our single plan for student achievement, and that is linked to the LCAP. And so we have 3 goals, and I'm going to start with the first goal, and that is all students will receive high-quality California state standard instruction and promotion of college and career readiness. That's a long goal, but basically it means that we're really going to do our best to make sure our students are prepared and getting the best education possible. We have been working really hard implementing our new English language arts program. That's the Wonders. We've been receiving training and coaching, and the teachers collaborate to really plan great lessons and really dig into deep in what the new curriculum is. We've had Lucy Calkins writing and Eureka Math for a while now, and we've been working on really getting that to a strong science. Again, we have to collaborate and really work together with the teachers as teams with the different grade levels to make sure that they're implementing it. And we do a lot of coaching around it as well, especially with the writing. But this year we've kind of focused a little bit more on science. We have a full-time science coach. She's come out to work with our teachers in different grade level teams and worked on the mystery science to really develop that. We at our site also have FOSS kits that we really fold those in with the mystery science and make sure that we're covering all the next generation science standards. And this year we also had a science fair, which was a voluntary event, and students in 3rd through 5th grades were invited to participate if they like. And so we had a great turnout for that event. It happened in January. And tonight we will also be hearing a little bit later from the winners of each grade level of the science fair. And they were you'll see some pictures. Really good work, and we had a great time. So we're really focusing across the board on all the curriculum, and it's a really balanced program. We have a lot of PE, art, music, everything at our site. So it's resulted in some really good results on the SBAC scores. We're really performing way above standard. 55.2 points above standard in English language arts, and 50 points above in math. And we are also continuing to grow as English learners. Our English learners are progressing, and some of them are actually performing better than our English-only students. So we really are doing well in that area. However, there are, pockets of needs for improvement. So we are focusing our efforts to differentiate instruction and figure out where we can pull in supports for those kids that need a little bit more extra focus. And so that's where we come into our goal number 2, which is the really differentiating instruction. And the goal there is appropriated tiered supports promoting and sustaining academic growth, positive social emotional development. So we have a lot of programs in place to really help our kids in the different areas that they need support. And we have a monthly team meeting that includes the speech resource psychologist, counselor, and myself, and we really look at kids that are struggling in whatever area and come up with the next steps to help support them. We work with the teachers. And then we also have a lot of other tools that we use, such as we have standing desks in each classroom. We have different learning programs to help kids that to target instruction for reading. We have the reading specialists that we have reading groups for the younger kids that need it. We have social skills groups provided by our counselor and our speech therapist in both kindergarten and other grade levels, and there might be here and there different groups that rotate at lunchtime. Like we had a girls group for a while, and then it rotates to maybe the next thing will be a boys group. So just building those social skills on the playground with the kids. So all of that's in place, in addition to all the parent-supported different enrichment programs after school. Dad's Club has a coding club. I'm not a coding, a computer club. We have the science fair. We have a spelling bee. And we also have all kinds of enrichment programs after school. So all of that's in place. Plus our, this year we're going to be doing LEAP, which is first year for us, which is artists in residence in different grade levels. So we're going to be doing that from March to May this year. And we have, of course, our art in action. We also have our wonderful garden. And they actually our students grow and use the garden. They grow vegetables. They learn all about, the water cycle, the food cycle, and how to actually grow their own food and then cook it and serve it to each other. And they really have a great time doing that. We also have our orchard, and we use that the same way. We have 18 trees. We planted those about 5 years ago with a grant from Common Vision, and that's a group that plants trees around schools all over the state. And they come once a year to just check on it, help us prune and feed the trees, and we also are going to have some support with the parents help with the garden and everything too. So that's the differentiated instruction. Then we have our LCAP Goal 3, which is increase school connectedness by providing a socially, physically, and emotionally safe environment that is culturally responsive to all students, staff, and families. So we have a really strong community of parents at Spring Valley and families. So we have lots in addition to fundraising, we have lots of fun events, and we have Safe Routes to School this year, which they helped us. This is a county initiative to help kids be able to get to school safely. So they were responsible to help us set up our valet system, which that's the morning drop-off, which really reduced a lot of congestion in the morning. It's much smoother. This year we also changed the afternoon release program, so parents come in and pick up their kids rather than go through the drive-through. So that cut down on the after-school congestion on Murchison, which I'm sure our neighbors are happy about. So we work together with the families and the community resources like Safe Routes to School to make the school more efficient and safer. We do have a brand new marquee. I'm going to show a picture of that in a second. That the PTA helped us purchase. And we have many, many parent committees, including the library garden, the Dad's Club, winter ball, family baseball, bingo night, movie night, field day, all kinds of fun things for the kids, yes. So everybody is really busy and having a good time, we hope. We, in addition, we have our COP Being Good. This is part of our PBIS initiative. We really took a lot of time this year to work on that. Here's a picture of the fence that our Dad's Club actually built around the garden this year, and they are next going to build one around the orchard. So everybody's really involved. Here's our new marquee. And then we had our science fair, and you're going to see some of these tonight, but here's a little glimpse of the science fair that was on January 17th. One person, this is going to be shown tonight, they did one on the germs around Spring Valley. Where's the germiest place in the school? And they found it. And then we had a big turnout. Here's the library was packed that night. The multi-use room was being used for the kindergarten presentation, so we had our fair in the library, and it was very big turnout. There's Mr. Fag. He was the lead on this. He did a really good job of connecting everybody, and the kids did a really good job of putting together a science fair. So here are our winners for the science fair at each grade level. We had third grade Derek DeLima. Are you here? Derek? So they're going to come up and just say a few words about their science project. So, Derek, do you want to come up and present your? You have a microphone. Maybe we can set it right on. I don't know. Is that okay? We can set it right up here. Is that going to work for you? Will it work? Let's see. Maybe not. We'll just put it right here.
Why don't we help hold it and
Okay.
then we can talk about it.
Great.
So we want to show these friends here, right? So we'll hold it up high.
Here you go.
Up high.
That's nicer than Taylor's.
So my project is called Apple Power, and it'll answer the question, how many apples can spin a motor? I did this because my mom said that she did a lemon battery experiment in high school, and my dad had a motor in the house. So I got curious, and my favorite fruit, which is an apple, can spin a motor, because I know that lemons and limes can power things too. My hypothesis is, I think that 7 apples will spin a motor because when I measured the voltage of the apple, the voltage was 15 millivolts. I also tested the motor only spins at 1.2 volts, which is 1,200 millivolts. For this experiment, you need lots of apples, copper wires, zinc screws, which are just screws, a small motor, a multimeter, which is this thing, and a calculator. What I first did was gathered all my apples and connected all of them with copper wires. This gave me 100 millivolts, but when I added more, it didn't give me any more voltage. So I tried connecting zinc screws to the other side of the apple, like a negative in a battery. And because a battery always has a negative and a positive, and a negative and a positive is also called a anode or a cathode. So I did this with 4 apples, and to my surprise, it gave me 4 volts, which was a lot.
Good.
I tried powering my motor with it, but it failed because I figured out that I needed more current. Current is is how many electrons move through whatever you're powering at the same time. So I used an LED, a timer, and a calculator, and they all turned on because they needed less current. And then I figured out that my motor needed 1,000 milliamps of current, and my apples only produced 8 milliamps of current. So I need a lot more apples. And I needed 500 apples to power a motor, and put them in a parallel circuit, which is when you connect the negative to the negative and the positive to the positive, so that you can have more current. I can apply this to the real world, where energy is scarce, and you only have like a tiny light bulb. And you can apply this to the real world when, like a few months ago, we had a blackout, and you didn't have electricity for a long time. You can use apples to power a small light bulb, and, so you can kind of read a book. I couldn't do that day because my mom threw all my apples. And that's my science project.
Thank you, Derek. Okay, next we have 4th grade. Andre Komenschko. Andre. Okay, here we go.
So when my mom was boiling eggs, they were like floating, so I got this idea to join in this science fair. My hypothesis was that like the boiled eggs would float in more dense water, and the unboiled eggs would float in like less dense water. I tried it out, and then so the boiled eggs floated in salt water. They also floated in corn syrup, sugar water, but boiled eggs and unboiled eggs both sunk in the tide in the water. When I tried my unboiled eggs, they were all the same except for the tide in the water. In the tide in the water, they sunk faster. And in the experiment, I needed laundry detergent with salt water, corn syrup, sugar water, and pure water. I also needed 5 unboiled eggs. And then for my second experiment, I also needed the same thing, but 5 boiled eggs. My controlled variables were 5 unboiled eggs, and then my manipulated variables were 5 different solutions. A solution is a mixture of 2 or more different things. Some examples include liquid, gas, solid, liquid, 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 solid, gas. The density is heavy objects that have more mass or weight. Density is the amount of weight that is packed into a space. When I was doing it, I figured that the eggs would float in more dense water because the dense water is like dense liquids is more thicker, so I figured that it would float. And then buoyancy is a force. If you put an object in water, it will push the water away. The water, in turn, will push back with the equal amount of force. This is called buoyancy.
Thank you, Andre. Good job. Okay, and then we have our 5th grade team, and they did the pledge tonight. That's Abigail Chu and Hayden Volna. Great.
We tested which type of water was the most neutral on the pH scale. We tested sea, pool, rain, and toilet water. We first used these pH test strips to find the composition of each type of water. As you can see on our pH water strip chart, pool and rainwater were both closest to 7, which is neutral, rainwater being 6.7 and pool water being 7.3.
For a more accurate result, we used a pH meter to double-check the pH of each type of water. According to our pH chart, seawater is 7.7, pool water is 7.3, rainwater is 6.7, and toilet water is 9.1. Our graph shows that toilet water was the most alkaline, having the largest number, 9.1, and pool water was the most neutral, being closest to 7.
In conclusion, we can see that pool water was the most neutral out of all 4 different types of water using the pH scale.
Very good job, girls. Thank you so much. That was very concise. Thank you very much. Okay, and we also have our honorable mention. This is the germ experiment, and that's Madison G. Here she comes.
Clean is Spring Valley. Oh, God.
So my project is about how clean is Spring Valley. Our question was, what was the dirtiest object at Spring Valley? Our hypothesis was that the Spring Valley toilets are the dirtiest objects because they're always in contact with water, poop, and pee. We used agar petri dishes, cotton swabs, distilled water, various objects at Spring Valley, and a cardboard box. We took our cotton swabs and dipped it in distilled water so we could sterilize the cotton swabs. We swabbed each variable at Spring Valley and swabbed it back onto the petri dish. We closed it up and turned it upside down and put it in a cardboard box, and we let the bacteria grow for 5 days. We put it in front of a portable heater because bacteria grows best in a warmer temperature. By day 1, no bacteria grew on any of our variables. By day 2, the bathroom floor had more than 500 colonies. My desk, the slide also had bacteria by day 2. By day 3, the bathroom floor had more than 700 colonies. The drinking fountain had 2 colonies. The cafeteria table grew 1 colony. My desk grew 2 colonies. The slide grew 20 colonies. And the toilet grew 5 colonies. And the bench grew 1 colony. And Miss Vogan's hands, my teacher's hands, grew 1 colony. By day 4, every variable that we tested grew bacteria, but the office doorknob. By day 5, every variable that we tested grew bacteria, and the office doorknob finally got 1 colony. We tested the drinking fountain, the slide, my teacher's hands, the office doorknob, my desk, the toilet, the bench, the bathroom floor, and the cafeteria table. By the end, my hypothesis was wrong, and the bathroom floor won by 1,000,000 miles. We figured out that the office doorknob is so clean because Miss Kafar wipes it down daily. The top 3 dirtiest objects at Spring Valley were the bathroom floor, the slide, and the drinking fountain. The top 3 cleanest objects at Spring Valley were the office doorknob, the cafeteria table, and my desk. We interviewed Mr. Santiago, and he told us that he cleans the bathroom every day after school. He uses Quat 20 and Fantastico when he cleans. In conclusion, the toilets at Spring Valley were not the dirtiest after all. The bathroom floor won by 1,000,000 miles. All the items I tested grew bacteria. Be sure to wash your hands because bacteria is everywhere.
Thank you, Madison. Excellent job. Excellent job, everyone who participated. Thank you for coming tonight.
Principal Dior Reed,
I have the other one.
could I just request that
Yes.
all the posters come up and hold them so our audience can see them,
Yes.
see their projects, and so our folks at home can.
Come on up.
That's Trustee Ravello.
Good.
You want to photo the other way?
The audience, so the audience can see, and then the cameras can see too. Okay, Andre, how about right here? Perfect. There they are. Let's give them a big round of applause. Lots of hard work. Good brain activity. And I really appreciate that you came, and it's not easy to come up and get in front of everybody, as I know, right? So they did a great job. Let's give them another round of applause. Thank you. We're going to take your picture, though. Let's wait. We'll leave you. Good experiment. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Okay. And we just have a little bit more to go here. We're going to talk about our positive behavior support. We have a team that works together, meeting usually every couple of weeks, and we also we have gone to training the last 2 years, a couple times a year as a team, and we've planned how to implement our positive behavior support system. We've made consistent rules, not rules, but expectations of how to behave in certain areas of the school, all the common areas, and then we also have ongoing lessons on. We rotate the lessons. This week it was the playground. So every class is doing the lessons on the playground and reminds students what the expectations are, how to treat each other. And we also have signage up all around the school, and we have a theme and reward system with character trait assemblies every month, and each grade level takes a turn presenting. And we also have, this is some of the signage, what the behavior that's expected in each area of the school. And then we have our mascot, who's really cute. And then at the different monthly assemblies, our character traits are respect, responsibility, safety, citizenship, cooperation, and honesty. So tonight we're going to hear from our third graders who came out despite it being a New Year's Day holiday. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We are going to focus on responsibility tonight. So, third graders, you're on. Our teachers tonight are Mrs. D. Yi and Mrs. Eva Ung. Third grade teachers.
If any of our lovely board members would like to come view, they're going to be standing this way, so we completely invite you. And we're going to fill the whole front space.
All right, so as our third graders are getting prepared, lining up right next to each other, we should be seeing these letters spell a very special word, and we're going to double check because otherwise this doesn't go well. And they look beautiful. So good evening, everyone, and Gung Hei Fat Choi. What do you say when someone says Gung Hei Fat Choi? Oh, very good, very good. We wish you a Happy New Year. Miss Yi and I are team teachers. We are representing the third grade class at Spring Valley. And so we are very proud and happy to be here. And as Miss Reed had mentioned, we are responsible for sharing and learning and teaching about a character trait. And the third grade is responsible for responsibility. And so what we've prepared for you tonight is just the letters that represent the word responsibility. Will also prompt them to share what responsibility means to them. So I'm going to pass the mic, and as loudly as you can, we're going to share what responsibility means.
R, responsibility means doing what you're supposed to do.
E, everyone follows the school rules.
S, say kind words to each other.
P, pay attention.
O, on your best behavior.
N, never give up.
S, stay focused. I, if you see someone hurt, help them.
B, be helpful and caring. I stand up for others.
L, learn by listening.
I keep our classroom clean.
T, take care of yourself and others.
Y, you should be responsible. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Responsibility.
All right. And to finish their presentation, they are going to share what their ideas of responsibility is through a song. So on the sides, I'm going to have my side wings. Hold your signs up just a little bit more so that you can see the lyrics. And if you would like to join along and sing with us, if you catch the tune, please feel free.
This is an original by Mrs. Ung.
Responsibility.
Yay, very nice. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Wow, that was very nice. Thank you, Mrs. Ong. Thank you, Mrs. Yi. Thank you, third graders. Yay. So, yay. That's our spotlight for tonight. Thank you very much again for letting us present, and thank you to all the parents for taking the time to bring the kids tonight. I'm sure they enjoyed it. We enjoyed it, so thank you.
Great. All parents, stand up. All the parents, up, 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 up. Yay!
Yay!
Thank you for all
Thank you.
So before we break, I think there are some comments from our trustees.
Frank?
Trustee Barbaro?
Well, Spring Valley, what excitement. I can't believe it. Mrs. Ung and Mrs. Yi, fantastic job with the students. That was great. The science projects, I think we have a couple of scientists here in the future.
For sure.
I really do. That was fantastic. So I love Spring Valley, so I'm so glad you're here. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for this evening. A great variety of programs. I kept thinking of the Art and Wine Festival when I see apples and I see eggs and I see displays. And I was getting really hungry, and then I heard about the germs. So now I'm back to normal. But what interesting stuff, and what a great way to present it to a group of people. So I appreciate everybody being able to get up and speak in public. I know how tough that is. So once again, Spring Valley, love you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Trustee Musa.
Thank you, Spring Valley. I learned a lot today. Great presentation. Of course, I love Spring Valley. I spent 13 years with my children over there, and Spring Valley's always been the positive community involvement with teachers and parents, and it looks like it's getting better. I think I want to have one more kid.
Uh-oh.
Because it's so much fun. It's so much fun. You know, you miss it until you see it, and then you look back and you're like, I'm not going to have another kid, don't worry. I'm just saying. So I just want to say thank you to the parents, kids, staff, everybody. I think one thing you said is collaboration. There's a lot going on at Spring Valley, but it takes collaboration from all of you to make it all work, and the district office, of course. But really, thank you for all you do. Great.
Thank you.
Trustee Ravello.
Well, tonight was a great illustration of the amazing things that our kids learn in our school district. And I think back to how very different their experience is now versus, when we went through school ourselves. It's a very, very different experience. And I think when you start talking to your kids on a regular basis about what goes on at school, you come to appreciate what it is they're actually learning. It's very surprising what our school district and our teachers do in terms of grooming our kids for adulthood or the next phase of life, the lessons they teach them, responsibility being tonight's lesson. But talk to your kids on a regular basis, because you will really come to appreciate what it is they're learning and how much effort their teachers put into each and every one of our kids. So I take my hats off to Principal Dor Reed and certainly the staff at Spring Valley and all of you for supporting your kids. But when they get to middle school and high school, look back on what these conversations have been and what you learned from them, too, because it's a mutual thing. There's no better experience than to be sitting at the dinner table having real good conversations with your kids. And believe me, after a few years of being in our schools, they can hold a really good conversation. So it becomes, the family dinner hour really becomes a nice overall learning experience for the whole family. So thank you guys.
Ditto on all counts here. Just wanted to add that our maintenance department really has some work to do on germs. Kudos
Bathroom
to
floor.
Santiago, and also to Mrs. Cafaro for her doorknob stuff. And teachers for washing their hands. Wow, that's terrific. Anyway, Spring Valley always goes above and beyond. And it's wonderful to see the participation of all the families, of all your teachers, of the leadership for our administration. So thank you all. I've said this so many times, but it really does take a village. And you are such a fantastic village, Spring Valley. So thank you, and keep it going on.
Thank you.
Thanks. And don't leave, because we're going to take a short break, but we have cookies for everybody. So thank you.
That was a hit. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, on to department updates. So we have educational services.
Good
Claire
evening,
Beltrami.
President Ferrario, Board of Trustees, Cabinet, and audience. Tonight, I'm here once again to do our annual mid-year review of the LCAP. The intention of my presentation tonight is to give you just a general idea of what is comprised and enclosed and included in our LCAP that we are now currently reviewing in the LCAP cycle. We always review what we have in the LCAP and project changes or things that we need to update or change and make adjustments to for our next year. So this is where we look back on the things that we said we were going to do and think about what we want to do next. So once again, what we're using is our California Accountability, which is the dashboard. I've done the presentation that showed what our data results were in regards to the gauges. And what I'm going to focus on tonight is more of what is included in the actual LCAP, whether or not we are meeting our metrics, what we said that we wanted to do in order to measure our growth, or if we are having some areas that we need to still address. So one of the areas that I wanted to demonstrate tonight is the academic scores that our students in grades 3 through 8 achieved on the state standards. So this is from the Smarter Balance Assessment for last year in English Language Arts. The graph shows our achievement gaps. Insofar that if we look at all of the blue little people that are running across the very top line, those are all of our student scores combined together, and we were an average of 67% that met standards or above. But if you look down at all of our different groups, you can see that there's a disparity between some of our groups, like our Black African American, Hawaiian Pacific Islanders, Hispanic Latino, white, social economic disadvantage, English learners, and students with disabilities. The orange students in this graph display the differences between the overall all scores and what those groups scored. So those would be our achievement gaps that we need to focus on and see how we can address those students and bring up their academic achievement in this test. And this is the same now for math, and this graph works the same way. The little people are representing all of the students. It's showing in the first bar the overall student scores. In math, we were 60% standards met or exceeded, but you can see through the orange people that those are the gaps that we have with our other groups. So we need to try to think about how we're going to address those needs when we review the actions and services in our LCAP and how we are going to address the needs. So I'm not going to go really into depth with some of our LCAP goals because Principal Dior Reed did such a nice job in aligning her site plan to the LCAP. For this slide, I'm just going to show you, as of right now, when we look at our metrics, what we intended to do in our LCAP for this year. You can see for LCAP Goal 1, we have met our desired outcomes for our metrics. And in LCAP Goal 2, which is the differentiation where we are trying to address those needs that were demonstrated in the two previous graphs, you can see that there is some work to do in the first two goals where we still have a gap between the students in those different groups with their academic scores on the Smarter Balance Assessment. But we are doing well with maintaining our English language learners. We do reclassify students, and we are able to keep their growth in English proficiency, the progress that we intended it to be. In LCAP Goal 3, where we're looking at different measures such as chronic absenteeism. If you remember, we had a problem with our chronic absenteeism report in our dashboard, so therefore we can't gauge whether or not we were successful with this for this year because our data wasn't accurate. It was given as 0 for that first year, so we can't tell if we've made the improvement that we wanted to. So we're going to need to wait another year to see if we have been able to address the chronic absenteeism. We have been able to lower suspension rates. We're maintaining our expulsion because we've had none for the last 3 years. And we've also maintained the things going on at the middle school and our parent participation. So these next few slides, what I was trying to do is to demonstrate our plans for the next 3 years in regards to the Common Core frameworks that are being introduced from California, the state of California. So as the Common Core has been rolled out, our State Department is producing frameworks, and then the publishers are able to produce the curriculum, and we have been slowly adopting the curriculum to get our core subjects, which is what all students are learning in the classrooms, into the Common Core standards. So this just demonstrates our plans for the next few years in what's going to be rolled out through the State Department and how we are going to be meeting the needs of those new frameworks by adopting programs in those areas. And this slide shows just the services that are being rendered by all the different people that are included into the LCAP. So what I was trying to do is take the 130-something page document that has all of the actions and services and condense it down into a graph where you can see all of the different work that people are doing to meet the different student needs. So if you are looking down the first row, this is all of the staff that we've hired to work with children. The second row tells if they're working with all students or some students. Some students are just being identified because they have special needs, such as special ed students, students that have second language learners, students that might be they might not be meeting with all of the students at the school site. So part of these people on this page are working with our differentiated learners. And the big thing that's also included in our LCAP are our phases of professional development. So if you think back to how we're rolling out the new curriculum, we also are using a lot of trainings for our teachers, and I wanted to break it into showing you that when we roll out new curriculum, we don't just give them the curriculum and then let them alone. We need to constantly go back and readdress to make sure that they're covering the curriculum and understanding all the resources that are included in that curriculum. So the first step is usually the exploration. It's the year that they're looking at the curriculum and deciding whether or not what parts of it need to be addressed for all of the students. The next step is when we do the exploration and installation. So it's when we give them everything that they need to with that core curriculum, and the teachers need to be supported to figure out what's going to work with certain students and what other things might be needed to be added to the curriculum. And then you can see that implementation is almost a 2-year program. It takes them a few years to really get through all the materials and see which parts of those curriculums are going to be successful, which student groups, and which they can use for resources. And then the last stage is the innovation, and that's when they bring in some of those creative aspects to the curriculum because they have a good knowledge of what it's supposed to be delivering. And throughout the LCAP, we address this learning curve that teachers go through when we introduce new curriculum. So these are our next steps. We are going to be addressing more of the LCAP at our next board meeting, where you'll be looking at the actions and services. We've gone around as part of our outreach to all of the staff and shared actions and services at all of the sites so that we could get feedback from all of the teachers and staff at the different school sites. We want to get input as much as we can. Our parent group met last week, and we were also sharing all of the actions interactions and services, so we're getting input from our parents also. We're going to be continuing to reach out to our stakeholders in March, and then in April, I'll be bringing you back some ideas about what we want to do for our 2019-20 LCAP, which will need to be going to you in May and June for final approval. And so that's the life of the LCAP for our upcoming year. Are there any questions?
I have one. We had.
Okay, take turns.
Sorry. The glitch that we talked about, where there was 0 absenteeism 1 year, has that been communicated to our community that occurred? Because I think, as we've talked about, in the real estate rankings of schools, they use that report to tell potential buyers how the schools are doing. And that one little glitch brought us down in a couple of areas, a couple of schools.
You're speaking of the chronic absenteeism where it was reported out in 16-17 that we had 0% chronic absenteeism. It's noted on the dashboard when parents go in and look at the dashboard, but I guess we could also communicate that through a parent newsletter.
Yeah, I'd recommend doing that because, I've talked to some friends of ours who saw the ratings and said, gee, what happened at this school or that school? And everything else is great except that one little glitch kind of dropped us down a little bit. So I think the more we communicate that to people and let them know that we're on track, the better.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. When we pilot a program, let's say, I'm going to say Amplify because we just had an assignment last night. I know we pick teachers from each grade level, right? And
for Amplify?
For any program that we pilot.
Okay.
Any curriculum, I should say. So we get input from the teachers. Do we get input from students?
Yes.
About the program, so they have a say. So yes. and then you take that, and then now you pilot it for 1 year, and then we adopt, we take 1 year for all classes to.
So
before we adopt the program, right?
So with Amplify, Amplify was piloted at Taylor Middle School, and it was piloted with all of the teachers. Each teacher chose a different unit to teach, and then we went back and we talked with all of the teachers, and we met after school, and we did the State Department through the county office gives us a adoption toolkit where it has criteria that we need to look at for different components within the curriculum. And so we go through like a matrix of checklists to see if it has all of the different resources that we need. And we did get feedback from the students prior to adopting it, yes.
I guess when you pilot it for the first year for the whole school, at the end of the year, is it possible that the teachers come back and say, you know what, now that we're doing it again, we're not really that much. We don't think it's a good program. We should try another one. Is there?
No. So I think I'm understanding. So last year we piloted Amplify. This year we implemented it.
Okay.
So this is our first year of implementation, and that's what I was talking about, that stage 2, where we're still supporting the teachers so that it's a learning curve. They need to figure out what parts of the curriculum need to be used in the best way. So we're supporting them through having some PD around Amplify still, and we focus 2 of our professional development days on that curriculum. So this is the year that we're still trying to figure out what parts of it work. We wouldn't just say that we're not going to use it because it wasn't successful with the first year. We need to give it some time for teachers to really delve into all of the resources and see which is the best way of making it work for their classrooms. And we're still working out some bugs with Amplify because it is an online curriculum. So we are still working with our bandwidth and bringing that all on board too.
I have one more question.
I was just going to clarify for you. I'm thinking out loud, but Claire, before a teacher or a school pilots, it's been adopted already, correct?
No. So the pilot is when they try it out.
They try it out.
So we took all of the middle school teachers to the county office, and they looked at all of the curriculum that was available that was released from the State Department, and this is the one that they chose that they like best. Then we take it back and we pilot it throughout the year. So last year was the year that we were piloting it. So teachers were trying out different units to see how they liked it. We had meetings after school, and they did like it, and they thought it was really engaging for the students. They got positive responses from their students. So that's when we brought it forward to you to adopt. And so this is the very first year that all of the teachers are using the full curriculum.
And once it's adopted,
we don't backtrack once it's adopted. We move forward, and we give training and support so that all of the teachers can.
I just hear rumors from. I don't know the processes, but I keep hearing we don't like Amplify. But anyway, that's just kids probably.
It's a learning curve. Everything that's new, and you have to change certain things, and that's why we're still supporting them. And that's why that stages of implementation is so important.
Well, that's what I mean. Just because they like it, they're still going to need resources because it's a new curriculum online. So hopefully they have a place to go, or we can provide them with whatever needs to make it good to make it more pleasant for them and the kids.
Yes.
Another question I had the services included in LCAP and people right here, and I'm looking at we have a lot of different. Now that you put it on the page, and I see the different departments. I'm just wondering, are we? We have so much going on. I'm just wondering if we're going to every department and to seeing that they have everything they need to run their program, whether it's custodians, PE. Do we check in on them once a year and say, hey, what are your needs? Do you need more equipment? You help with the curriculum, music, for example. A lot of time, there's a lot of programs that we have or departments that we only see the outside, but we don't see the nitty-gritty on the inside. And hopefully that we're able to go to them and say, hey, what are your needs this year? Because everything evolves and everything changes, and things get old or they need to be replaced. Or sometimes, for music, for example, I'm sure we probably need new music, new instruments, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So I'm just wondering, will we do that every year?
That's a good question. Yes, we do that as part of our outreach to our teachers, and I have personally reached out to different departments, and I'm waiting for feedback on their needs for their programs. So we hope to be updating you as we go through the process of looking at what we have in place in the LCAP and then making any changes that we might need for the next coming year.
Trustee Barbara.
Yeah, I don't know if it was really answered, but you were talking about changing the curriculum. Is that in stage 3? Because once the pilot is over and it comes out, that's it. There's no changes.
So that's correct. So we pilot it, and the teachers make a recommendation of which curriculum they want to adopt. And then we go through a process with the teachers through meetings and looking at the toolkit to see if it really meets the needs of all of our student groups.
After the pilot.
Throughout the pilot. It's part of the piloting process is to have those meetings with the teachers so that we can discuss the different components of the curriculum. Yeah. And when they make that recommendation that they feel that this is a good program for our schools, then we bring that to the governing board. We bring it to you for your approval for adoption.
Any chance that it won't work moving down the road forward?
This is our first year of implementing this curriculum, and like I said earlier, it is our first online curriculum, so we are working out some just little tweaks that we have to do with bandwidth and devices, and once we get this all figured out, I feel that it's going to be something very valuable. The children really liked the engagement. They really felt that the lessons were creative and allowed them to really think outside of the box and bring some of those extra creative skills. So we wouldn't be saying that we would want to change it at this point. We need to give it the whole steps. So we need to give it a few years to see if it's a really if it really meets the expectations that we thought it would have.
So things can be modified, you're saying, down the road if need be?
We usually look at adoptions in 5 to 6 year cycles.
So adoptions are something that have been going on for years and years, and it's a 5-year cycle, as Claire was saying. And I think most teachers have a curriculum that is adopted, but they supplement it with other things because programs are not like tube socks. One size doesn't fit all. So you have to. I've used that phrase so many times.
Let me write that down too.
But because our students come from, as you can see, and I love this visual of students included in LCAP and the people that are addressed. This is very telling to me, in that we are really using most of our staff in meeting the general population, except when it is specialized. So, there are supplements that need to be done, and I'm sure our staff at the district office can suggest other supplementary materials that might work better for other students. And I think all of the adoptions now have that technology piece, and so we're really going to have to pay attention to how we make those parts of the curriculum accessible for all students, and I know you're on top of that. I just wanted to mention that the next steps. So you said that in March, stakeholders advise on prioritization of proposed action services for the LCAP for next year. And I think I was able to observe one of those meetings that you went to at a school where you went to the staff meeting, and teachers and staff were allowed to prioritize what things. And so is that what you're referencing? Okay. And that was that's like putting it out there for everybody, to have their say into what's going on. And then the other thing I wanted to mention. I just had a question about history, social studies. So in K-5, it's studies weekly, bridging, studies weekly. So is that like a current events type of thing? What is studies weekly?
So the bridging means that's what we've put in place as a component to use until we can go out for an adoption.
Okay, got it.
So Studies Weekly is they're like newspapers.
That's what I think.
And they
Elastic News.
It's similar to that. It is one of the adopted programs from the state of California. It just so happens that's what we were using while they were coming out with their recommendations. So we use bridging to gap that from the no Common Core to Common Core until we can get through the pilot process.
Got it. Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah. Are we using Amplify for English and science?
So science was offered this year just in 6th through 8th. Mm-hmm. We were able to use it just this year since we went with the English language arts. The vendor allowed us the opportunity to try to do a unit in science also. So this year, some of the science teachers have been using Amplify Science just to see if they like it and if they want to use it next year as one of the pilots.
Has the hands-on science like experiments, or it's just
yes, it covers all of the things that NGSS, all the components that's required for those programs.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
Claire. Okay, next up, business services. Rick Champion.
Good evening, trustees. Tonight, I just want to give an attempt to just give you an update on our freshman governor's new budget and give some perspective in that. go forward in some of the impacts that might be on our district, but overall, his first pass. Remember, he just got elected, just got sworn in a couple weeks ago. So, and then he had to present a budget. So, a lot of the budget proposals that he's brought forth doesn't have a lot of meat on the bones yet, but they are very bold and initiative for education. The first slide is kind of indicative of his office. The last governor came up with charts and graphs, half hour in and out in most of his budget presentations. This was with his family, his 2-year-old running around, and he took 2 hours of talking about the budget. So this kind of gives you the theme of where we're going tonight. Just a little bit recap, depending on this slide is just to kind of show you that California, whether you argue it or not, is really the largest economy in our nation, and then we are in the top 20%, top bottom tier, however you want to say it, in a lot of the categories in funding and teachers and counselors and librarians. But sometimes you'll hear people say that there's so much dollars that they've thrown out at education over the last 7 years to the LCFF. That is true, but when you adjust them back for the cost of living, the cost of services, and just the cost of operating in California, that's how they rate those things. So just give you some perspectives. If you hear some people say, well, I don't believe you because you've got more funding than you ever got. But remember, our funding just got us back to the 08, 09 years when you adjusted for inflation and costs. Just to give you a quick timeline of where we're at. Right now, he just released the initial budget, so now those budget ideas are going to go back and forth between the state Senate and the state Assembly. Trailer bills, this is where they start putting the meat on the bones to see if a lot of his proposals have any good tangible results. Is there funding for that? Is the timing right? And then by about May, after all the April numbers come in, financial numbers, that's when we will start building our budget when the state releases the May revise. And at that point, then we'll know the assumptions. In the past, under Governor Brown, what he came out in May was pretty much was adopted in June. We just don't know yet what it is. This governor has inherited a pretty good-sized budget surplus, but he's also inherited a supermajority in both houses that Brown didn't have to work. So in other words, the houses can't override his veto.
What's the general mood of the Assembly and the Senate? I mean, can you just quickly...
Well, from what I've heard, obviously, is they're very supportive. Governor Newsom was elected on a wave. Some can say it was the blue wave, right? But he's got a lot of support right now, so they're not going to test him so much. Okay. But that could change because there's been some things, as you know, Brown had that support too, like the gas tax and stuff. But Brown pretty much got what Brown wanted, and that without fear of a veto. Not a veto, but redoing his veto. So the theme this year basically is. Newsom inherited a large bucket of surplus and the likelihood of an economic downturn. He's also inherited, and he's also thinking about his balanced fiscal prudence and progressive ambitions. In other words, he wants to bring a lot of services out that weren't there under Brown, but also try to just shore up the reserves at the same time and also pay off some state debt. And his main theme is the cradle to career. You're going to hear a lot of that, or they call it the California dream, basically shoring up the sides, the early childhood education and the community colleges in the career side. So there's going to be a lot of dollars you'll see here in a sec that he's proposing. One dynamite thing we'll talk a little bit is funding, making a contribution to the CalSTRS retirement program with the dollars outside of Prop 98 dollars, basically outside of the education bucket, which is a coup if you can get that passed. Talk a little bit about that. Of course, the LCFF is fully funded, and we said it over and over and over in a lot of these budget presentations. We're at COLA dependent on going forward. And accountability is going to remain a priority and increase over the next couple of years. I love the theme from the LA Times. Can't get much better for Gavin Newsom as a California next governor, but it's almost certainly to get worse. Economic outlook for the nation, of course, you can see depending on what news station you listen to, but you can see the GDP is up and shrinking, projected to shrink over the next 3 years. Employment still historic rates, expected to continue, which should drive up wage pressure, which is a good thing or a bad thing. Spending consumer capital and defense is still increasing. That's good. In California, it's mirroring the national. That's good. We're right along with that. And Newsom's budget is built upon a projected growth of about 3%. So his budget is building in line with what the economics are saying. Quick update on really what the California budget looks like. It has got more revenues coming in. On the revenue side, a lot of that is from what they call the personal tax side, the personal income tax and capital gains. That's a huge risk for the California revenue side because it's so dependent really on one segment of the cycle. But that could change depending on the economy. But he's holding the line on expenditures and really trying to build up that reserve, that rainy day, as we've talked about over and over. If the state's building a reserve, I think they're sending a signal that we should do the same also. So what does that mean for the education budget? An increase in funding, about $80 billion going on the Prop 98 side. Of course, we share that with the community colleges. So the K through 12 is $72 billion, still up from $68 billion. Good time. There's a lot of proposals that you see on this slide, from CalSTRS to the COLA to kindergarten facilities, expanded special ed, which talk about a lot of stuff, data systems and high-speed network. But you'll see, if when you really did the math, 84% of the new money is one-time. Is one-time monies, okay? And there's a reason for that, and he's getting pretty smart at this. But we've said this too before, year after year. There is no new one-time discretionary dollars in this upcoming budget. If you look on this slide, you'll see, and above behind me, last 4 years we've had significant dollars come into districts that were one-time in nature, used for a variety of reasons, curriculum, technology, and so forth. But to plan your budget as though that one day it will not go on forever, and of course it's stopped. So there is no one-time dollars. There is a lot of grants in this budget, which could be seen as one-time dollars. But this is the first year, the last 4 years, that there is no proposal for one-time dollars as of today. Just another slide, just to give an example of where the COLA is. Since we're so COLA department dependent, I wanted to show you how the LCFF was funded over the last 6-7 years there, and kind of break out how the dollars came in from either the gap funding or COLA, or like last year we had this super COLA, and really where we're projected to be at last year. Trustee Ravella, you'll love this next little thing here. Never has the CPI been below the COLA proposal, except for last year, the year we're in now. I always say last year, yeah. But so next year is kind of an anomaly where they're actually projecting the COLA to be above the CPI. What does that really mean? It just means I don't think the COLA going out in the next years, the future years, are going to be sustainable at this rate. So in other words, we were originally projected to have a 2.71% COLA in the 1920 year, 2.5%. So they're projected to be 3.4%. It's almost a point higher in the 1920 year. We'll see if that maintains it, because that was based upon November's receipts from the Treasury, from the State Treasury. In the future years, it goes back to 2.8 and 2.9. So what I'm trying to say is, we just need to be very careful of our ongoing commitments in the future years, thinking that we're still going to have these high COLAs. And now, 2 years in a row, we've had higher COLAs than we projected. I don't want us to get into the thought that, that'll keep happening, just like the one-time funds. That's the point of this slide, and it's a good way to plan. The LCFF, like I said, COLA only, saying for a number of years. These are just some of the inputs and the dollars and supplemental grant. Our district obviously does not partake in the concentration grant, but it's still the same percentages. Nothing's changing on the way the funding is under the new governor about the way the COLA is being funded and additional funding. Again, the CalSTRS that came out of left field to a lot of economists that he's proposing, and which is great to help relieve some of the pressure that we've been talking about, and a number of districts have been talking about, is the increasing pension obligations on school districts. We have the CalSTRS, which is was projected to go up over the next couple of years, and of course PERS. He's proposing to take $3 billion from the non-ed bucket, basically the general fund, which competes for, roads and prisons and everything else that the state funds, and throwing it into this CalSTRS trust. And that's projected to decrease our funding about a point. And I'll show you here in a little bit what that means. But it's a good thing if it happens. But there's going to be a lot of competing interests, as you see in that trailer bill, that would love to have this $3 billion. But it's a great thing because it's not coming out of the school district Prop 98 dollars. Okay, good thing. The only thing, and I know Trustee Ravel is shaking his head, and he's going to probably ask this question, that this is still one time in nature. It only buys down the next couple years by a point projected. But it's so dependent about the fund performance of the CalSTRS operating fund, in other words, their investment portfolio. If you can remember what we said is that our obligations kept going up because the fund performance was so high it wasn't attainable. It went from 7.5 to 7.25 to now 7. The 10-year average is 6.8, just to give you an idea of, and the 20-year average is a little bit less than that, so or reverse. But just to give you an idea, we still have to attain 7% for these CalSTRS rates to come down. So it is a good thing, but we'll see, if the math really works out. Just so there's your projected employer contribution rates of the next couple of years, both on sides. The PERS is still expected to go up a little bit. They've downgraded a little bit on both sides, some statutory, some but on the PERS, just because the fund performance of the last couple of years has been pretty darn good. This year, it's only February, so we'll see where we come out. Good news, some good news. Special ed finally got into the budget. Usually every year we say, special ed, sorry, see you next year. But they are finally going to get the same COLA that everyone else is projected to get, which is good, right? Because last year they gave us a super COLA, except they didn't give it to the special ed. They just gave it to the LCFF. And there's a lot of new one-time dollars that are trying to get into the beginning, the support service side. Again, no meat on the bones, just a projection, but really just try to give one-time dollars and grants to set the stage for the future. And we'll find out more as we go because really no one else knows. School facilities, Governor Brown did not like this Prop 51. He fought against it. He campaigned against it because he didn't want the state to incur more debt. The opposite under Newsom, he's putting money in to not only hire new inspectors and state people to process, but also speed up the bond process. And how timely that is when we just finished our facilities master plan. He's throwing a lot of dollars into the kinder facilities grant program. We'll talk a little bit, and looking at revamping the local developer fee schedule. So a lot of just proposals. We'll report out later how that really affects us. And kind of heard this was kind of timely. He is a big believer, and Brown wasn't. He's going to be throwing almost $2 billion, a lot of it one time, of course, because of the ongoing issue at early childhood education. In other words, from age 0 to 5. He really, really believes that if we hit some of these issues that we have later in life, if we hit them early, I'm just paraphrasing, that we won't have. In other words, we're investing in these types of programs for early childhood education, which some of it is within the education bucket, some outside the education budget dollars. As far as constructing and retrofitting facilities for kinders, universal preschool, expanding that, a lot of other issues. So I really think it's an opportunity, so much as a business opportunity too, for our district to really start looking at this stuff. And I'm going to kind of be throwing some of my attention in the next couple of months at this. I'm going to a couple of conferences and the CASH conference really to just see what comes out of this. Because again, this has all just been bones, no meat yet about really how this is going to roll out. But the nice thing is he's making investments really on the foundation of the house. In other words, he's looking at, okay, if we're going to have all these programs, we need to house these programs. Okay, we need facilities, so he's throwing dollars into that first. He's thinking about when we hire staff, we need to train them, so let's train them first. So the thought is, if he's making these investments into the base, the foundation of the house, he's going to dedicate monies to the ongoing to support the house going forward. In other words, if we're throwing $2 billion and some change at this, he's going to find a way to make these programs last and get funded, which is encouraging. So what's next? Again, as we talked about, they're going to be back and forth with trailer bills. The May revise will be on and before May 15th. The superintendent and the fiscal service, business service, we'll be attending workshops on that. We'll report back out. We'll prepare our budget based upon those numbers. And then the state will finalize their deal, their budget and adopt their budget by June 15th. We'll do the same shortly thereafter. And if there's any material changes, then we have 45 days to come back and amend our budget. That is my brief presentation tonight. Any questions? Thank you.
Good news.
So, I want to compliment you, on your continued excellence in your reporting out to us. You provide us a lot of information, but you give it to us in a format that's easier for us to digest. And that's important because obviously, if we're part of the eyes and ears of the community, we need to be able to understand your message well enough to have a conversation with the constituents. But there are three things, that this budget really points out in terms of conceptually things that we as a school board and as a district need to make sure we include in our message to the community. Because, when we talk about this information, California is 48th, 50th, da-da-da-da-da. Okay? Well, the question I get asked is, well, why? Why are we so poorly funded? And you have in here, in the 1970s, we were among the best funded schools in the country, in the world. So we need to understand ourselves what happened, because we need to be able to tell people this is what happened. Because part of what the governor and any governor is facing is the uphill climb to change the way our schools are funded. And if people don't understand what the basic problem of school funding is, it will never happen. We'll keep treating the symptoms. And that's what this one-time funding does. It treats the symptoms. It does not cure the problem with the way what happened to our school funding. So, I would ask you, as, our financial leader in this school district, as part of a presentation to say, okay, in a snapshot, this is the before and after. Mm-hmm. In the 1970s, this is the way our schools were funded. After the 1970s, this is what happened. That's what created this lack of funding, because that drives the chronic underfunding that our schools have experienced for the last 30-plus years. So we can say, yeah, the schools have been funded at only 82% of their projected funding. But why? Why haven't the schools? And why can't we sustain? Because as you're pointing out, it's a fragile thing that our school budgets are built on. It's built on the personal income tax. It's built on capital gains. When we as a state do well, when the people within the state do well, then the schools get the bone thrown to them. But it's one-time money. It's not sustainable. So for us to get back to where schools have a reasonable expectation every year of, if nothing else, that the salaries will get paid. Facilities, okay, if you want to construct things so that when the state is doing well, we pour money into facilities. But the things like paying teachers and paying for basic programs, that should not have to rely on this yo-yo that we go through in the state. So, but unless people understand why we have this, they're just going to continue to go along with the super funding, the fundraising mentality, which doesn't while it gives us some temporary help, it doesn't solve the big problem. And if nothing else, we need to be able to get the message across to our people, because this is why we ask for bond money. This is why we want the parcel tax. There's a basic flaw in the way education is funded in this country. It wasn't always that way, but this is what we have now, and that's why we need your support. So I think for us to get the continued and growing support that we need, because as you've pointed out, our needs are going to continue to grow. Unless we get more people to understand and buy in, we're going to be facing that much more of an uphill climb. So that's why I ask, let's help us understand better so that we can help in our piece of, community communication. This is what we're all facing.
There's lots of reasons why the 70s, but there was one little proposition that passed back then, which is Prop 13, which really changed the dynamic. And I'm not talking about it now, but there's talk of, in 2020, a proposal of the split rolls parcel property tax initiative, which basically pulls out the difference between residential and commercial. As a business owner, in my private life years ago, I would think, as a small business, I would see my costs of operating go up. So there's going to be a fight on that too. But there's lots of reasons, but that could be a trigger point too.
Don, well said. And I think we really, it's the why, like you're saying. And if we can get the message out as to why this is happening, and it's not mismanagement of funds by the district, because that's, that's an easy answer, right? And so if we get back to why, I think that's really important. Anybody else? And just want to put a plug in for Preschool for All and facilities for that, and that will really work into our facilities plan as to how we are going to have schools with preschool, TKs, kindergarten. I mean, we're looking at much larger we're going to have to departmentalize our sites, so to speak. So, right. Yeah, that's a goodie right there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're next. Thank you.
Okay, you're back up.
Thank you. Next.
Rest for the weary.
Budget Advisory Committee, Parcel Tax Oversight Committee.
Trustees, just a quick update. We've noticed a number of people that expressed interest in joining the Parcel Tax Oversight Committee / Budget Advisory Committee, and we continue to do so. We've noticed out to the public, next door, PTA, PTO meetings, a website tonight, Rotary, Mayor civic coordinating committees. We have shown that message out. The 3 meetings that are slated are February 21st, April 18th, and June 20th, all at the district office. We'll be sending out agendas. Our first agenda draft is really focused not only on Measure N and the oversight, but to recap on our budget and progress this year for the first interim and some of the governor's proposal. And that'll be the theme of the first one, and so on. So those are the 3 dates. So if you're still interested, please email us, call the district, or find me at Starbucks in the morning at 8 o'clock.
Thank you. Okay, communications to the board. Speakers wishing to address the board on items on the agenda may complete speaker cards and submit them to the board secretary. Speakers addressing specific items on the agenda will have the opportunity to address the board at the time of the agenda item in the meeting. If you're addressing the board on a non-agenda item, please be aware that the provisions of the Brown Act prohibit the board from acting or discussing such matters at this meeting. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person per topic. Seeing no blue slips, we're going to move on to members of MEA. No one's here to report. CSEA, seeing no one. MEF, no, and members of the community. So we're going to move right on to trustee communication. Trustee Ravello, would you like to start us off?
Sure. Well, I had the distinct pleasure of coming in late, but at least coming in to witness CPR Saturday. And while I only had a limited view, I was very happy at what I saw. And it was well attended. I walked into a class that was, I don't know, there must have been 50 people on the floor, going through their instruction with the firefighters there doing a wonderful job of engaging with the community, And what I really liked about it, it was not a hard sell by the school district. It was just a community outreach. And that's, I think, really critical for us to help generate the community goodwill that's so necessary if we're going to continue to get the community to support us. So, I want to thank Trustee Barbaro for his championing of this event. It was well worthwhile, Frank. And I certainly want to thank the administration for being so solidly behind it, and certainly all the community, members that participated in it was a wonderful day. It was just wonderful to see.
Trustee Musa.
Yes, thank you. Well, I've been kind of busy at Taylor. There's been quite a few events going on. The first one, let's see. Last week they had the Taylor Science Fair. I went with Lynn, and we were. They changed it up a little bit this year. Last year it was full on 6th, 7th, 8th grade, but this year they limited it to 7th grade, which is actually a little bit more to enjoy. So that was fun. Great projects as usual. And then we didn't get to, I don't know who judged this year, but it wasn't us. We did. Anyway, so, and they also had the music, Taylor Music had their playathon on Friday. Boy, those kids played really hard. They started at, they were there from 3 o'clock. They started playing at 4, and it ended at 8. But they sounded really good. A lot of parents were there. They did the pianorama, which is great. They had about 50 kids lined up to play the piano, and every time somebody played, they kind of donated money. So I think they raised about $6,000 that night. So for the music department, too, again, they're in desperate need of repairs, I should say. Anyway, and last night I went to the Taylor PTA meeting, and they had a special speaker. Unfortunately, it was New Year's Eve, Chinese New Year's Eve, and it was raining. It was a great presentation by, I don't know, I forgot the name of the lady, but anyway, they were talking about vaping and the different types of vapings, anyway, it's just the whole history, how it came about, and all the stuff. It's a great presentation. Unfortunately, nobody's there, but hopefully they'll be able to email out parents the little YouTube video that they showed, so the parents can have that conversation with their kids. They're saying, don't wait till high school to talk about it, because it's too late in high school. And she said, actually, it's 4th, 5th grade students that you need to start talking about, having that discussion about vaping, because really, they can do it in the classroom, because the Juul, it's a small little thing, looks like a computer thing that you attach it to your computer to, charge. So if you're a teacher not paying attention, you would never know that your kid has got, it's in the classroom. So, yeah, those are things that we need to educate parents. I mean, some of these jewels look like highlighters. They come in different colors. They come in they look like sharpeners. I mean, it just, anyway, and they come in different flavors. They don't taste like nicotine. So, again, it's good. This is something for parents need to know so they can help their kids, have that conversation with their kids, I should say. So that's it. Thank you.
Trustee Fema.
Yes.
Hi.
Thanks. Thank you for the update on the vaping thing. I think we need to hear more about that stuff. I just want to join with Trustee Ravello and talk about CPR Saturday. Not to be redundant, but the two things that I took away were that we were seeing people in our facilities that we've never seen before, and they had never seen us. And I think the inclusion of groups that we normally don't have transactional relationships with was super, because we know each other better now. The radio club of Millbrae was there. An audiologist who I was able to refer was there to talk about hearing, things that just have never happened before. And the other part, the second thing is that these people got to see how their bond money has been used. They got inside the building. And I think, again, those people had never seen the Carolyn Shea Center. And I heard comments along both those lines from the people that showed up. So, and again, I think our wonderful administration, our staff, everybody that put in time and effort just to be there to support the community. And as Don said, it wasn't a hard sell. We're not there to sell anything. And I'd like to see us replicate that, not just with CPR, but there's so many other programs that we talk about. Not that we would do one on vaping, but we might want to do some safety things. We might want to have a safety fair. We might want to, it opens up all kinds of possibilities. So once again, it was a great experience, and looking forward to doing it more. Thanks.
Trustee Barbaro.
Well, I'm going to talk about CPR Saturday first.
When was that?
Yeah, it was Saturday. Just to reiterate, it was a real first-time success, and I just had an idea, but our superintendent and our CBO got it together. They got everybody together. They put it all together, and it happened. So, like Dennis said, it's a beginning. It's a start. It was no hard sell. It was an easy event. A lot of camaraderie there, a lot of collaboration I saw between people who never collaborated before. We're connecting. So, that my takeaway was the connection that everybody made to one another. And my other takeaway was a different face of the school district. It wasn't the fundraiser. It wasn't anything like that. It was really a giveaway. Give back. So that was fantastic. Thank you for everybody supporting it and coming. That was really great. Taylor Pancake Breakfast coming up on Saturday. It starts at 9 o'clock, 9 to 12. The lines will be there. I got a really great response. 11 lines are coming, and some Leos, so that they're going to be in full force with our truck coming in there into the back of the Shea Center. I think that it'll be a good turnout. They're excited about it. It's really the first time that we've ever done a pancake breakfast at Taylor for the school. They've never had one done before, right? Yeah. No. Yeah. That was elementary. Yeah, just elementary. So this is the first time for us. So, we're up for the challenge. And I want to thank the Lions Club for donating $500 for my continental breakfast. And we had some fruit left over. But we were able to donate the fruit to our Cub Scouts, to Julie DeMaia, who graciously took it all, loaded their car up, and took it to the Scouts that night. They were having some gathering at Joy's house. I think the Joy House was having some sort of Scout gathering. So that was great. What else do I have here? Lunar New Year's coming up. I'll be at the Rotary with my wife, with the Rotary. And what do we have? The MEF Gala in March coming up. So we have a lot of good, exciting events coming up. Spring Valley was great tonight. My heart goes out to Spring Valley all the time because that's my parent alma mater. But they're doing exciting things. They're full of energy like never before. Wow. You know, you're in the school as a parent and you think, wow, we were the bomb, we did everything, but they just topped it. They top everything. You know, every group has done. So I was really impressed with their presentation tonight. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Well, in the interest of time, I'm going to keep mine very, very short. Just want to say, Frank, you were the impetus for CPR Saturday, and your unfortunate situation a year ago brought so much good to all of us here. We're so lucky to have you and so lucky to bring it to the community and to pass it along. And a shout out to our district office. There was no hard sell. It was an easy flow. But I have to say, you guys worked really, really hard putting it all together. Getting a hold of all of the stakeholders. You know, really, I applaud you guys for doing this, for this Saturday. And I know we did it to honor Frank and to give back to our community, but just thank you so much for doing that because it was huge. It was really huge. It didn't look like it was because it was so easy, but it was huge. So thank you for that. Okay. So moving right along, Superintendent.
Right, good evening, President Ferrario, trustees, and cabinet. First and foremost, shout out to Spring Valley Elementary and shout out to our principal, Ms. Dior Reed. She did an amazing job with leading her staff. As well as tonight, when I wish everybody a happy Lunar New Year, 2019, Year of the Pig. To the families and our community out there, Happy New Year. Just a few updates for tonight. I should just skip the CPR Saturday piece. I do want to highlight some numbers. We had 50 folks sign up for the hands-on only, and we had about 88 for the CPR certification piece. But about 69-ish were issued certificates, and so it was some good numbers. I want to personally give a shout out to all the folks who came to our to serve at the tables. We had our district nurse. As Trustee Famous stated, we had an audiologist that were there. She's actually supporting our nurse in getting her certification, her audiology, I think I pronounced it right, certification. And so they took time to practice because there's an assessment that's coming up that she has to pass, and it was a special treat. And some of the other folks thanked us for allowing them to come to the event because they made personal connections. The American Red Cross alone has contacted our PTA president at both the middle school and our foundation president. We're thinking about a blood drive now. And so there are other connections made from this one event. The fire department, the county fire, Central County Fire Department, they were extremely excited and they were worried because of their limited mannequins. And so we thank all the vendors who came out. We thank the Millbrae Leos for sure. They supported us that morning. But certainly it was a success. I hope you all thought it was a success as well. And many connections, as stated by our trustees, were made that Saturday. Our Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services alluded to this piece regarding our community input session. We have one more for those who were not able to attend the school sites. Many of our classified staff were either left for the day or was not aware of that particular meeting. And so we're holding one last one, two actually, for all staff on February 12th, 3:15 in the district office at H7. We're also holding our own district office staff LCAP engagement forum. It happens to be Valentine's Day, February 14th, 11:30. We're going to turn that meeting into a luncheon as well. Trustees, please partake if your schedules allow. But we will bring this back to the trustees for our February 19th board meeting. It will be a review of all staff input to include your own personal desires. We are going to run through the process as we've done to all of the sites. You'll see that there are posters in the district office conference room. We will allow trustees as well to use the blue dots and the green dots. If trustees felt that we had to focus and concentrate on one program or the other, then we certainly will engage in that process with the trustees as well. Just a quick update on our language immersion program. I've been doing a lot of research, and one of the items that I would like to invite the board to, if your time allows, Menlo Park School District has implemented their Spanish immersion program year 5. They've invited us to a parent meeting. It's on Wednesday, February 27th, 2019, at their district office at 9 a.m. This particular meeting is a real parent meeting, so we have to pretend that we're parents and that we're interested in their Spanish immersion program, the process of registering, the process of being part of the they do have a wait list, and so they'll talk to us about the program itself, as well as how students get into the kindergarten program. And then following this particular parent meeting is a campus visit, which they've invited us to join as well. And so if your schedule allows, please let me know. Just a quick update on our SUPS, on the SUPS SEL Advisory Committee. We've established the need. We've created strategic a planning process and the strategic plan. We've developed a purpose, roles, and responsibilities of our committee members. We are currently researching best practices and curriculum. As an overview, on your desk, I did put our SEL newsletter. That is for the staff. It looks like what Assistant Superintendent Beltrami is holding up. It has just a snapshot of what our committee members have discussed to include the need, the strategic plan, and developing the purpose. I'm working alongside 3 parents, Jean Liu, Stephanie Louie, and Christine Portman. They are creating the parent component of the newsletter. We plan to finalize that at our next advisory group. The link that you see that's attached to the newsletter was given to all teachers regarding how fast, how slow, or how medium they want us to implement this curriculum. So please feel free to take a look at the link because that's the information that we'll bring back to our next meeting, which is February 28th at 3:15 district office. Here are some upcoming dates. As a trustee mentioned, we're super busy in February and March. For this particular month, bingo night at Spring Valley on Friday, pancake breakfast, the Shea Center at Taylor. And then for our families at home, we have a non-work day on Friday, February 18th, which leads us to President's Day holiday on Monday the 18th. And then we're back for our regular board meeting on February 19th at the district office. As CPO Champion stated, we have our first budget advisory and parcel tax oversight. Trustee Ravello and Trustee Barbaro both sit on that committee. And then the February 28th SEL Advisory Committee. This is just a small announcement from our mayor, Mr. What is our mayor's name? No, this is from our mayor, Mr. Wayne Lee. He'll text me later tonight. I'll apologize. But this is from our mayor, Mr. Lee. He's asking students in the Millbrae School District to participate in the Lunar New Year Parade. If students are available, this is something that we came up with our principals, but the lineup begins at 10:30 near the Living Spaces parking lot. We know that this is also the day of the gala. Therefore, it's an opportunity for dads to sneak out of the house with their kids while moms get ready for that evening. So if you're interested, boys and girls and dads, please get the form from your school's front office to participate. This would be a wonderful activity. And lastly, here are all of the dates that are coming up for dinners. And so get your stomachs and your checkbooks ready. Our lunar dinner on February 22nd, our gala March 2nd, our PCBA fundraising dinner March 9th, Meadows Crab Feed March 16th, and the Spring Valley Heritage Dinner on March 23rd. Thank you, and that is my update for tonight.
Thank you, Vaughn. Okay, consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Trustee Barbaro motioned, and do I have a second? Second by Trustee Ravello. All those in favor?
Aye.
And it is unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay, second quarter interest report for 2018-19.
That's a consent.
It's part of the consent.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wasn't fair.
13. Here we go. District business. Okay. Facilities master plan. Rick Champion.
Okay, trustees, I get to monopolize the next 3 agenda items. Trustees, district staff is bringing forth our facilities master plan. As you recall, we've discussed this a number of times in board meetings and community events, and I really want to say a thank you and a shout out really to all that truly built this report. As you recall, this is really a ground up report where we took feedback from the community online and as district staff, which was the most important input because they actually live and breathe in the facilities. And we put together a comprehensive approach really to address the needs of the district. So trustees, this is a recommended board action for approval.
Great. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Trustee Fema and
Second.
I think we had a second by Trustee Musa.
Okay.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next one, Rick.
This is 13.2, approval of the California School Employees Association for the Early Tell Retirement Incentive MOU. District staff brings forth this MOU. We want to thank the folks for the CSEA, the California School Employees Association, for their work on this. We're proud to bring forth this recommended Early Tell Retirement Incentive recommended for board approval.
Okay, this is an action item. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Trustee Ravello, second.
Second.
Trustee Fema, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. 13.3.
Trustees, 13.3, the Millbrae Education Association Early Tell Retirement Incentive MOU. District staff brings forth this recommended board action. We'd like to thank the staff and participants from the MEA and district in bringing forth this MOU. This is a recommended action for approval.
Okay. Do I have it? Okay. Trustee Musa moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Trustee Barbaro. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Discussion items. 14.1, discussion on the 5-year anniversary of the Carolyn Shea Building. Yay. Thank you. Who's going to talk about this?
Well, trustees, we thought this would be a wonderful topic to discuss, in particular as we go forth and address our facility needs analysis that we just approved, and how and revisit where the district facilities came from and such the needs are, and really to celebrate from the voters of Millbrae approving Measure X and Measure N, if that's in the order that they were approved in, that really allowed addressing some of the needs of the district back then. So as we alluded even on CPR Saturday, we had a number of residents that voted for the measure and come in and really at the first time and see the facilities And what a wonderful idea to celebrate this large facility that did consume a big part of the last bond measure. And as part of the community, not only as a staple that'll last for 40, 50, 60 years, but has also been designated by the Red Cross as a facility in case of need during a disaster. So it's really a part of the community. It is a part of the school district, but more importantly, it's part of the community that paid for it. So as we approach and thought of how we can, spruce up the outside, we thought maybe of putting the Caroline Shea Center sign also off the Richmond side, just because we do have a lot of traffic that kind of goes in there. It's a better parking lot, really, than the other side, in my opinion. But it really is just conversations to have, and maybe during this year, it happens to be the 5th year of the dedication.
Can you tell me when that bond was, our last bond? What year was that?
November 2011.
2011, thank you. I was asked that question.
Trustee Ferrario, one of the items that we discussed was to attach this celebration to an existing event. I had a conversation with our MEF president, and the 2019 walkathon is slated for Saturday, April 27th, and they are shifting the event time from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m.-ish to just change the dynamics of the activities and festivities we are offering. And so we just exchanged ideas to say, why not we open with a 5-year anniversary celebration to introduce as part of that bigger program, which families and the community would be invited to anyways. And so we wanted to bring that for trustees tonight for a consideration. If that is something that is a desire, we certainly can plan around that piece where families and the community members would already be there.
What date is that, Vaughn?
Saturday, April 27th.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I think it's too soon, because I see the celebration as not just a drop in. I see video and speakers and making more of it. And as much as I'd like to utilize the crowd that's going to be there, I don't think that gives us a lot of time to plan and execute a celebration. That's my opinion.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I think if we wait to do it next year, I think it'll give us time to advertise it and talk about it and get people excited about it.
Yeah.
Because I know when, and it's only 5 years. I know last week Mills did their 60th anniversary, and they have worked at it all year long to get it, and it was a lot of planning and work behind it. And I know it's part of another event, but just an idea.
Any other comments, Trustee Barrow?
Well, I mean, any time I ever have an opportunity to honor Trustee Carolyn Shea, I always take that opportunity, because we talk about the MEF. The MEF would not exist if it wasn't for Trustee Carolyn Shea. Let's be real about it. It wouldn't be here today. There might be something. There might be a foundation in Millbrae School District, but it wouldn't have got together so soon, because Carolyn got it all together and got it going. She was the focal point of the bond. Mm-hmm. She got us moving on the bond. Nobody wanted to do it. Everybody was scared, and she took the initiative. So I mean, on Dennis's comment, maybe it is a little too soon. It would be nice to have a little commemorative, putting that sign up there on Richmond on that side. It would be nice to have a little accommodation ceremony. I don't know how it would look, or whether it would be coupled with another event where it brings people in. Maybe it is too soon, but I'd sure like to take a look at doing something.
Don, do you have any comments?
Well, I mean, I like the idea of combining, the walkathon with something else. the timing does concern me a little bit, you know. But, you know, also it's an opportunity to leverage some of the community goodwill that was developed by CPR Saturday. So if we don't do the 5-year celebration, I think it would be, there's something else we can do to, you know, tie that date to the gala. I mean, not to the gala, but to the walkathon. Maybe the walkathon shouldn't be diluted. Maybe it should be, you know, advertised for what it is, and strengthen it that way. I'm kind of a mixed, you know, about what we should do. I'm still absorbing the fact that we're going from the afternoon into the evening.
That's new news to me too.
Right. So, I mean, maybe if the superintendent could give us a little better idea of how that's being structured, that might help us.
I don't have the full details of the walkathon. I know that we're discussing that at the next executive board meeting on the 11th with MEF. But it was just an idea. The specifics have yet to be nailed out. So what I'm hearing, trustees, is what I would propose would be that I would ask possibly 2 trustees serve on a subcommittee to think about this strategically. We wanted to bring it tonight because of that 5-year timestamp. And we wanted to just think about and brainstorm ideas of how big, how small. Tonight gave us a little direction in regards to needing more time, possibly, you know, I don't know if the 5-year was the utmost importance, or was it the signage? And so we wanted to just add more information.
And I appreciate you bringing it up because we have been talking about it. You know, I concur with my colleagues here in that, you know, maybe we need to have, and Dennis, you mentioned a couple of good ideas, a slideshow, some speakers. So maybe we could do something, and maybe it's not the 5-year, maybe it's a 6-year, but I'd like us to think about the signage to go up prior to our celebration, because that can go up, doesn't have to be related to the event. As far as I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but for me, I think the sooner we get that signage up there, the better we're going to be. And whether we want to say anything the day of the, you know, I think, Don, you're right. Maybe we shouldn't be diluting the walkathon, you know, and just like I don't want to dilute the Carolyn Shea celebration either. So as long as we can move forward with the signage, if that works, I'd be happy to work with the staff in organizing an event. Is there another trustee that would like to work with me? Frank? Thank you. Yeah. So so maybe we can get something going.
You know, we might want to take a look at, I think it can be done this year. I just don't think April is the right time. Maybe at the end of May would give us more time. And Carolyn passed away in May, so there's some connection there. And I don't remember the actual date that the Shea Center opened. I remember it was, I think it was in the fall. Yeah. Maybe look before school gets out sometime.
December?
Was it December 9th board meeting? Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know if it was the
My
9th.
meeting. I was at the...
Yeah, prior.
Well, you know,
Dennis took over that night.
I like the idea of moving it to later on in the school year.
Hey, my God.
End of May is a little bit tough sometimes because the schools are always trying to close out the year.
Yeah.
I know the district office has a lot of things already on their plate for the end of the school year. Right. So my thought was, you know, if we're talking at least the same calendar year, maybe have the celebration as part of the opening of the new school year. It would be a nice way to kick off the new school year, you know, because we'll
Summer to plan it.
right, yeah, because we'll be opening the 2019-2020 school year, So I think that might be a nice tie-in, and kind of because her thing was Carolyn's thing was always about school and the education process and the optimism that schools bring. So it's like anything else, right? Start of the baseball season, everybody's hopes are high, and so. Yeah. Kind of. If we kind of tie it to the opening of the school year, it might not be a bad way to go.
We have time to get the sign.
Right.
Yeah.
Time to get the sign.
Well, the sign's going to get up way before that.
Okay, good.
And I like the idea of having whoever the new senator is. Jerry Hill, I think, will still be senator, but have some resolutions and some presentations. Have some music.
Help us on the committee. Will you be on the committee with us?
Well, I don't want to violate anything, but yeah, I'd be happy to.
Oh, yeah.
I could resign. Wait a minute. I'm thinking
Well, you know what? We could let Dennis on it.
Yeah,
either way, doesn't matter. I don't have to be you two.
I can send you anonymous
He's a good
tips.
event planner.
Here's an anonymous tip. But have finger food. Have I can see MCTV.
We could have Kokari cater it.
Frank's Grab and Go.
You guys were at the Peninsula Healthcare District.
They would do it.
Guys, you were at the Peninsula Healthcare District thing. MCTV did that video, and I think that was a fabulous piece of work. And I can see us doing a 15-minute, and have some interviews and some pictures of Caroline. Yeah. I think it's a nice thing.
Yeah. One more thing. At CPR Saturday, Calvin came up to me, and he said that he invited Jim Shea to the gala because of the MEF, her involvement in MEF. And I think he may be coming, so that might be a nice time for them to make reference to Carolyn's involvement on the
Do they know? I mean, do the people that are running the MEF now, do they know about Carolyn's influence in getting the MEF started?
The old
church does. I mean, I wonder if they know. Yeah, I know Kelvin and Wayne know, and Bill Meyer, like the first people, Deirdre, the first people. But I'm wondering how significant the current people know.
Great discussion, everybody. We're on a roll. Okay. Do we have enough information, Vaughn? We have enough? Okay.
You have no...
I'm not done yet. You have nothing to say about this ex-president Fama. Just kidding. Former president. So possible future agenda items? Anybody? Didn't you have some?
I do. Okay, so... Superintendent Papersert, was talking about the immersion demonstration. So, I would like to see us, have a session where we hear about what was there, the ideas that maybe came out of it, because certainly some of us, that have got kids now in Mills, I think we would want to, whatever we do here, we would want to further that connection between ourselves and Mills, because there's certainly things we can do that from an immersion standpoint, even though we don't have a full immersion program, there's certain concepts we can certainly put into it, but we would want our counterparts at Mills to kind of be on the same page with what we're doing. And so it would be a vehicle it's another vehicle to tie, the high school and the middle school that much more closely. And again, I think if we listen to our kids, that are at Mills right now, we could learn an awful lot from them as far as what they would suggest in an immersion program that would be helpful to them when they get to Mills.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I think we talked about it. A presentation kind of could bring back the PE department and kind of talk about the curriculum and, where the adoption is going. And music also. I like to see the presentation, music, of what's going on.
Well, their PE program at Mills is like the envy of the peninsula now.
Yeah.
It really is.
As long as they offer it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to keep asking for the same thing. They say you say it 20 times, it actually becomes real. I learned that, you repeat I guess, never mind. If you say something 20 times to someone, even if it's a lie, it becomes reality.
Oh.
They were talking about Trump.
That's something like tube socks? Oh, no, they didn't.
Jackie Spears said. Jackie Spears said that today.
She did?
Yeah. She said when you tell a lie like 20 times, people start believing it. She said it on ABC News.
Okay, well, I'm on this. I learned that from, like, if you do an exercise 20 times, your body becomes by memory.
Okay. This meeting this meeting is adjourned.
Yes.